Tonight only, we have a marquee matchup between Bing and OpenAI's ChatGPT. Are you ready for a rumble in the virtual jungle? Okay, that was a lot of fun. But really, in all honesty, what is the difference between Bing's new search engine and ChatGPT? Let's take a look. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. So I got access to Bing's new search engine with ChatGPT powering it. And as I started looking at Bing, I just assumed everything was going to be identical between the two, but I found out that that is not the case at all. So I thought it would be very instructive to look at the differences between these two supposedly very similar engines. So first of all, I'm going to be using Microsoft's Edge browser because that has Bing sort of integrated into it. Now that I have access, I can actually utilize it from Safari or from Chrome or something like that, but I figured for the best experience, I would go ahead and use it with Edge. Clever of Microsoft to make that all happen, and I'd said that in a previous video. I thought that was a very clever idea to get people to convert over to using their web browser, and of course to making Bing the default search engine. We also have the mobile version of the app, which is Bing Mobile, and the really cool thing about that is it actually has an audio interface. Even though the thing told me that it wouldn't do it, it actually does do audio interfaces. So just for a super quick example, I can hit the microphone button and say, I don't know, tell me about the latest research into Planet 9 in the Oort cloud.
Searching for Planet 9 Oort cloud. Planet 9 is a hypothetical planet that is suspected to exist in the outermost edges of the solar system, possibly in the Oort cloud. It is thought to be about 39,000 kilometers in diameter, probably larger than Earth, but smaller than Neptune. Some astronomers have been hunting for Planet 9 by observing distant dwarf planets like the Goblin that may be influenced by its gravity. What aspect of Planet 9 are you most interested in?
All right, so first of all, really nice that it's an audio interface and it means that you can actually interact with it with voice only. I also like the fact that it asks a question at the end so that it's sort of like, hey, it prompts you to think about the next response so you can start a conversation. I find it to be very, very slow. I'd rather have some sort of audio control. I don't necessarily see how to do that, but I haven't really used the Bing app very much at this point. So if somebody actually does know how to do that, please do let me know in the comments or DM me on Twitter, because I don't know. I always find the basic audio interface is always about 25 to 30% too slow for my tastes, which actually might say more about me than it does about the interface itself, because I tend to talk too fast. But anyway, if you know how to do that, definitely let me know. I would like to turn up the speed just a little bit, because I would find the interface a little more useful if it spoke faster, because that's a long pauses in between things. It's dramatic pauses. But anyway, for the rest of today, I want to actually use the web-based interface because I want to be able to flip-flop back and forth between the ChatGPT and Bing tabs. So the first thing you'll notice, of course, is if I go up to ChatGPT, you can see that it's got the standard interface, and I need to close up my web browser a little bit. There we go. So you can actually see the text input at the bottom, and it's got a very nice list of all of my old chats, and then of course I can type in new chat. And because I'm using the paid version, I have access to the default and the legacy versions. So it has the standard stuff that if you've used ChatGPT, you can see that. Bing, on the other hand, I have to say is slightly more complicated. I think they've actually done a reasonable job, but it's a little bit more complicated because there's more of a traditional search window up here, and then Bing is over on the right. So once you get used to it, no big deal. But I figure let's go ahead and do something. I did a dry run this morning, but I'm going to ask different questions specifically so that I can, see how it works in conjunction with each other in a more of a live demonstration. So the first thing I'm going to ask is a hypothetical 5-course meal for a group of people with a bunch of dietary restrictions, because I think that adds complexity to the search. So the first thing we'll do is just do a normal search here, and I'll say, please give me recipes for a 5-course meal for a group with the following dietary restrictions. Tab interface is good. Okay, so one is let's just call it a pescatarian. Yep. Is lactose intolerant. Oops, not intolerance. And one hates onions. My son actually hates onions, so I always have to look for recipes that don't have onions because I love onions. But anyway, so let's see what it gives us. So this is going to be the traditional search engine. So here you go. You know, you've got your bhd.com, easy pescatarian recipes, things like that. But then over here, you'll see that Bing, it's a little bit slower than ChatGPT for one, definitely. But you can see it says it's searching and we're waiting. Here we go. Okay, so it's going ahead and beginning to give me a result here. Again, ChatGPT is much, much, much faster than this. So I can click see more and it will continue on. And it's slightly annoying because I can't immediately enter the chat window until it finishes its response. But when I click let's chat, you'll see that what we have now is a sort of a tab at the top that says search and one that says chat. So you can see it's taken the search and it's kind of regrouped it into some groupings for you. And then it's got links to these all recipes, thekitchen.com, things like that. But I can also then come in here and I can say, please, give me 2 options for this meal. I'm being intentionally vague because I want to see how it does in terms of its ability to understand what came before. So now we're looking at Asian, pescatarian, lactose intolerant. No, that's interesting because I did not ask for Asian. So, so that's an interesting restriction. I mean, I don't mind that at all, but that's just interesting because I don't believe that I put that in there. So here we've got some options. So we've got option 1 and option 2. With some things. So let's take a look at the teriyaki salmon with sesame zucchini noodles. That sounds really interesting. Please give me the recipe. Typing when people are watching, isn't that always a thing? For, let's be really vague here. The main course for option 1. So it's going to have to figure out what the main course for option 1 is, and I'm not going to tell it. So let's see if it can remember. That should be teriyaki salmon with sesame zucchini noodles. So, yep, there we go. So that good for, good for Bing. So it was able to go back and parse this whole thing and figure it out. And then of course, again, definitely slower than ChatGPT, but I'm also paying for ChatGPT to be faster. So it is possible that what we're getting here is maybe they'll eventually be a paid version of Bing. By the way, notice that there are no advertisements on this page. I find this really fascinating. I would have thought that Bing would want to monetize this, and there is this big, gigantic blank space over here where they could be running a whole bunch of targeted ads. So I'm personally slightly surprised that they don't have ads all over this thing trying to make it good. So anyway, you can see, I mean, I'm not really looking at it, but it looks like a pretty nice, this actually looks really good. Maybe I'll have to save this. I don't know. I love anything with like sriracha and stuff like that in it. So anyway, so it's got the whole, the whole thing. And let me just like follow up with this. What dessert would pair well with this recipe? And let's find out. I do have a mechanical keyboard. It's a DOS keyboard, and it is, oh my gosh, it's probably 15 years old at this point, but I love mechanical keyboards. They have that kind of like crunchiness to them, but they're also very, very loud, so I apologize for the loud typing. Anyway, so dessert with teriyaki salmon. Oh, good. Okay, cool. So here we go. We got key lime pie. We got coconut rice pudding. Those seems like reasonable options, and lemon sorbet. So something with a little bit of a citrusy kind of, flair to it would be reasonable. So that's really cool. So one thing you'll notice here is that we only have 2,000 characters. This is not a limitation with ChatGPT. And so that does limit the amount of stuff you're allowed to put in, but you can actually attach links to it and it will go out and look at the links. So we're going to look at that in just a minute. But I want to show something that's really interesting here. So I'm going to change up and I'm going to ask it something different. And at least if it does what it has done before, it will actually shut the conversation down, which is fascinating. So let's just say like, tell me why E equals MC squared is a very important, equation. Okay, well, anyway, hopefully it'll get that. So it will, oh, this is interesting because earlier today it said that it would not change topics. It was like, you're going to have to start a new conversation to do this. So it appears to actually be searching for that. And, oh, okay, that's really fascinating. So I'm going to try something else in just a minute. In fact, actually stop responding. Let's just tell it that. Let's just say, what would you prefer I call you when we have Sorry, keep adding that extra thing at the end. So let's see. Because earlier today, yep, here we go. So this is interesting. And what it does, it did this before when I asked it about E equals MC squared specifically, but maybe it has some memory of the fact that I've asked it before. So I don't know. So if I attempt to continue this conversation, so you'll notice that, and I do have the option of giving this a thumbs down because that's ridiculous that it won't tell me what it wants to be called. So I can give it some feedback and stuff. Why won't you provide your name? It's your choice. So there you go. So it shuts it down. And I think that this is a new thing because people have been able to make the Bing search engine continue on and get into some wild conversations. So I think this may be a new thing that they've done, that they've basically said that you can't continue the conversation. So if you try to change topics, it's really good as long as you follow a thread, right? I was going down the recipes and things like that. So now I have to change topics and I have to click this little sweeper thingy and create a new topic. And so now I can do that. So let's just go into ChatGPT again for a quick comparison of this. Provide 2 options for a 5-course meal with the following. I noticed that this doesn't do autocomplete, which is interesting. But notice also that this does not have a 2,000 character limit. It doesn't count down. So you'll see over here, there's 2,000 characters. And as soon as you reach that, it won't take any more of that. And I did ask about that. So we can go back here and we can say like, why is there a 2,000 character limit to what I can ask you? And if it's the same as what it was before, because I did ask that question, and 2,000 character limit. That's interesting because before it actually did not search for it. It actually did like okay, here we go. Oh, actually, so now it's saying, previously it said, I want to keep the answers short and everything. Now it's giving a more general answer. So that's really interesting. More or less, I think I asked the exact same question, got a slightly different answer. But you'll notice that it is very, very nice that we have these links that are immediately available. And I'm going to go into that with ChatGPT in a minute. But okay, so what did I say? 1 is a pescatarian. 1 is lactose intolerant. Oops. And 1 hates onions. I think that's more or less the same response that I gave it. So notice, first of all, ChatGPT much faster. Again, I'm paying for it, so I guess it should be much faster. So tomato and avocado, option 1, second course, seared scallops, grilled egg with third course. Okay, so we're getting some reasonable things, and I will follow up with a question about, please give me a recipe for one of those. So I don't know. I guess this is all option 1 still. So it's giving me options within options because I expect I will probably see an option 2 pop up. Yep, there we go. So let's go ahead and look at the third course seared tuna. So I'm going to say third course option 1, the first choice from the third course option 1, and see if it can figure out which thing I'm referring to here. So anyway, you can see that is going on. And yep, so we got some dessert and everything like that. So I really actually kind of want to I'm feeling like I need to cook or something. So let's do, what did I say? Seared tuna with soy ginger. So let's see if I can ask this in a very vague way. So please give me the recipe. Notice I'm very kind to this thing. I say please. For option 1, for the first of the third courses for option 1. That is a little bit complicated, right? So let's see if it can figure that out. Seared tuna, good. That's great. I mean, that's really fantastic that it's able to figure that out from what I'm asking. So again, it's giving us what I assume is a reasonable recipe. I'm not exactly a world-class chef here or anything like that. So I'm assuming that what we're getting is something reasonable out of this. It looks reasonable to me. And actually, these recipes look fantastic. So anyway, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask it that same question about E equals MC squared and then what it would prefer to be called as well. So we'll see if it has problems with context switching in the middle of a conversation. One thing that I have noticed I will throw out here immediately is that as far as I can tell, The chat interface for Bing at this point does not have persistent memory, which really, really sucks. So that's something that, if you're thinking about why would you pay $20 a month or why would you use ChatGPT over Bing, is that you have access to all of your old conversations, right? So there's tons and tons of those. So that actually is a very important thing for me, because a lot of times I'll put it aside and I'll come back and want to continue that conversation later. So let's just go ahead. E equals MC squared, a very important equation. So context switching, cool. It'll do that. And then what I'm going to do, just for the heck of it, is I'm going to ask it about its name, and then I'm going to go ask it for another one of those options and see if it can remember back to that earlier part of the conversation. It should be able to do this. Again, I haven't tested this out. So also this, I've noticed Bing's answers tend to be a little bit shorter. This is much more loquacious. When I asked Bing about this, I think it gave me like a very one paragraph answer, and now we're getting 4 points, 4 bullet points or 4 numbered points plus a conclusion and everything. So that's really amazing. So what would you prefer to be? I call you as we have conversations. So before, remember this shut it down when it came to Bing. So this is the kind of standard answer anyway. Oh, I like assistant. Before it said AI. So this time it said assistant. So actually it is providing a slightly different answer each time. So that's actually very cool. But, so you can see how ChatGPT is able to context switch much more easily than Bing is. And that is a significant advantage. I'm going to go back up to, let's see, second course. Okay, so please give me the recipe for option 2, let's see, for the stuffed portobello mushroom for the third option for course 2 in option 2. Wow, that's very confusing. I'm not even sure I would understand that. So let's see if it figures that out. So what that should be is stuffed portobello mushroom. Wow. Okay. It got that. That's amazing. I didn't even know how to ask that question properly. So yeah. So it's able to remember back. It's able to context switch back and forth very, very easily. And this is amazingly, yeah. So again, ChatGPT has it, as far as I can see, all over Bing in terms of the flexibility of it, and also the ability to copy in a lot more information than 2,000 characters. But of course, we're going to turn to the major advantage of Bing in just 1 second here. So I'll let this thing finish. It's doing its thing. So let's go ahead and say like, can I ask a question of you that is more than 2,000 characters. I asked something like this earlier today, and what I got was you're allowed to copy and paste in URLs. So yeah, okay. Okay. So anyway, it told me what I could do is I could give it links to things, which is very cool. And I don't think I can do this with ChatGPT. So let's just go to archive.org, and I'm going to grab an article. I love astrophysics. So let's go ahead and do astrophysics. Let's do recent. And let's see. Okay. I did the wet compaction. I already did something this morning, so I'm going to do something different. Extension of general relativity with MOND. Sweet. All right. So let's go ahead and look at the PDF of this. Hopefully it's all available. Oh my, broken link. Okay, not worth worrying about that. Let's do something else. AGN feedback, sure. That's interesting. So let's see if we get this. Okay, I think, yep. Okay, so this is definitely, it's one of those PDFs that you can read, which makes sense since it's on archive. So let's go ahead and copy this. And let's go ahead and I'm going to start a new topic of conversation since it doesn't seem to like that. Summarize the following article. So this, fingers crossed, it did this earlier today. But anyway, there we go. Okay, so it is able to search for it. And I'm going to ask ChatGPT to do the same thing, and I don't believe it will actually work with that. So here we go. So a study of giant radio galaxy with a high redshift using LOFAR and Chandra observations. The authors found the radio galaxy is hosted by a massive galaxy cluster with a hot intra-cluster medium, and it has a powerful active galactic nucleus. Cool. That's actually very, very interesting stuff. So I'm going to ask the exact same question of, in fact, actually, let's see if I can copy paste this. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to copy paste this into ChatGPT. I'm going to start a new chat just to be equivalent with all of that. And let's see if it can do that. Yep. Okay. So major advantage to Bing. It is able to search for things like that. So let's just go down a rabbit hole just a little bit about this. So let's ask about active galactic nucleus. Explain more about active galactic nuclei. Explain more about AGNs. Let's see if it can just, I'm curious if it'll follow the train of thought here where it will be able to understand what an AGN is from the previous. So rather than asking it specifically about active galactic nuclei, oh, interesting. So I wonder if it's going to give an answer that is less than ideal in that case. So let us find out. All right. Oh, okay, good. Okay. I mean, I don't know that it's actually continuing this, but at least it got the same, thing for AGN. So powered by supermassive black holes that accrete gas. So, let's say, how large are supermassive black holes? And you'll again see that we have links according to this. So let's just, now that we're a couple of layers down into this, let us go with, we'll find out in just a second. Okay. Hundreds to billions. So Wikipedia, skyandtelescope.org. Let's see if we get another more interesting source or link to this. So, okay, cool. And NASA.gov. All right, so I'm going to go up here to astronomy, Swin. So notice that we have all of these links are actually put here so you can see them. And so if I click on this, I should get a real answer. Yes, okay, Cosmos real, so it's providing the actual link that goes to this. So the interesting thing with ChatGPT is that if I ask this question, so let's just go ahead, explain more about AGNs. Let's just go ahead, because it doesn't know what I'm talking about, but explain what AGN active galactic nuclei? I'm just gonna put in nucleus is. Okay, so hopefully it will provide, there we go. Okay, so high radiation, including X-rays. So I'm curious what, powered by Okay, so it is definitely a very different answer between the two of these things. Also notice, again, like I said, ChatGPT, much more loquacious. It tends to respond much more verbally. So it looks like what they've done with Bing is they've intentionally tried to reduce this, probably to some extent to reduce the amount of processing power this all takes, because this, takes quite a bit. So anyway, let's see if it talks about black holes in there. Quasars, important to understanding, massive galaxies. Yeah, so anyway, let me ask it, can you please provide links? This is where it gets interesting. 2 articles, about AGNs. Okay. So if this works, like I said, I did a dry run with different topics previously, but notice that it's got these links that are right here and it's providing them. What I discovered this morning was that the links were not real. They were actually just created. So let's see, the hidden lives of active galactic nuclei. Okay, here we go. So let's just go ahead and click on a couple of these and see. So we have the Chandra X-ray Observatory. So that's actually sources, active, but I don't, yeah, see, it says missing page, right? So you can see missing page. So it's kind of got it, but it's not, these are not real. 404 page not found. Yeah, so this is what I found was that sometimes these were actually real. I mean, Sky and Telescope is real, but these are not actual articles. And so the really fascinating part will come when I ask it if they're real. So again, so none of these are actually real as opposed to Bing. So are these articles real? So let's see. Yep. So that is fascinating. So what we've got is ChatGPT. Remember, if you don't know about this, I've talked about this before, and I'll put a link to this video at the end of this video and up here as well. But all this is just a word completion thing. It's just a very, very fancy version of word completion. So essentially what it's doing is it's just predicting what the next token would be afterwards. So essentially it knows that, chandra.harvard.edu is a real thing. It knows that skyandtelescope.org is a real thing. And then it's just auto-completing the rest of these links. And it's telling me that this is real. So it thinks it's hallucinating that these are actual real links. So that is a pretty big downfall of ChatGPT. Whereas with Bing, you get obviously, astronomy.swin.edu, you get an actual thing, right? So it tells you about active galactic nuclei. So there is a very distinct advantage on the part of Bing in terms of if you're looking for current events, if you're looking for summaries of live articles, things like that, this is the way to go. You're definitely going to want to use Bing. On the other hand, if you want more flexibility in your conversations, if you want more wordy answers that are longer, that are a little more interestingly written, a little less like search results, a little more like an interaction with a chatbot, and if you want to do things like creative writing, things like that, I think that ChatGPT is definitely the way to go. So you can see that there are very distinct differences between them. And of course, using the Edge browser, you get this nice ability to go back and forth between, oh, that's interesting. So it actually remembered my original request, but you have the ability to go back and forth between a question and the chat. And so you can just pop back and forth between search and chat, which is very, very valuable. And of course, really, really nicely, you've got the app that's on your phone that you can do with voice prompts. So you can ask it questions with your voice. You can get responses back with actual voice as opposed to having to read the responses. So there are very distinct advantages that Bing has. The Bing search engine has. The biggest one, of course, is the fact that it will give you live links that are actually correct. Downside of that, only 2,000 characters, not even words, but 2,000 character input at a time. Don't know what the window is. I haven't gone into extended conversations to see if it can remember back really, really far. ChatGPT, on the other hand, has effectively unlimited. So what I could do is I could copy in like the PDF file as opposed to just giving Bing a link, and it will do a reasonable job of summarizing it. It's not perfect because it doesn't understand figures and things like that. But then again, I'm not so sure how Bing does that. But also ChatGPT is able to context switch. You're able to maintain persistent conversations, which it doesn't look like Bing does yet. So there are some distinct reasons why I will continue to pay $20 a month for ChatGPT. As far as my prediction for the future of what's going to happen, I think we're going to see these two things kind of coalesce on each other. We might see ChatGPT get upgraded into a research arm that is using more like GPT-4 as opposed to GPT-3 or 3.5 is what they're currently using. So it might go more the research direction and remain a beta where we should see like Bing should take on some of the qualities of ChatGPT. In particular, it would be really good if it had persistent conversations. So again, I'm signed in, obviously, in order to get this because it's a test thing and I'm going to let it have it. And I have 35 points, whatever the hell that means. So, anyway, so I'm definitely signed in. So there's no reason why it shouldn't be able to maintain persistent conversations. And then, of course, the fact that you have to like give it a new topic. If you try to change context and it freaks out, that's an interesting aspect of Bing as well. So at this point, there's really no clear winner. There's just a winner for each individual case. And so again, if you're doing creative writing, if you want more wordy answers, if you want a more interesting conversational chatbot, then ChatGPT is the way to go. And you can still use the free version, of course. You don't have to pay $20 a month. And if you want the ability to summarize things very, very rapidly that you're actually looking at, that is where Bing is going to really shine through. And of course, if you haven't signed up for the Bing waitlist yet, what you can do is go to bing.com, I believe, and you can sign up for the waitlist. I had to wait a couple of weeks to get on it. In order to move up the list, I, downloaded the Bing app. I downloaded the Edge browser. I did all of the stuff that they asked me to do. And it took me about 2 weeks to get into the actual program. So anyway, I'm having a lot of fun. I'll be very curious to know what you all think. Maybe I should have asked it some other questions or something. Or if you have access to the Bing preview thing as well, definitely let me know. Let me know which one you prefer out of these two. Personally, I really feel like I'm probably going to use both and, not either or. So that is my conclusion at the end of this. I'd be really curious to find out what you all think. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, please do like it so other people can find it, because Google, though they are a little behind now in their search engine technology and stuff, that's the way that YouTube works. That's the way that Google works. So that helps other people to find this video, and hopefully it's interesting enough that other people will want to find it. And of course, if you're interested in more of this kind of content, please do consider subscribing. We are very close to 50,000 subscribers. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon. Thank you all so much for your support. I truly do appreciate it. It's been a wonderful 2023 so far, and Tesla's Investor Day is coming up real soon, so we're having really good discussions on Discord about that right now. Anyway, if you're interested in joining the team, just check out the link in the description. And if you're interested in a whole bunch of really cool merch, check out our merch store. Link is in the description. We have TeslaBot t-shirts, the Tesla meme t-shirt, Success is a Possible Outcome, 4680 battery cells. All of that stuff is on t-shirts, mugs, tumblers, and on. So check it out. And finally, don't forget we are both Tesla and Amazon affiliates. If you look in the description, you can see how going shopping for a solar roof, a power wall, or anything on Amazon helps out the channel. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.